You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 845. Chapter 845, Chapter 210 Foolish Entry 3. On the other hand, the Dragon Martial Academy had actually managed to obtain a spot in a mystic realm for the other party. Which mystic realm did they intend to enter? Yuan Qi Mystic Realm? Or other small mystic realms? Although they were not too sure, it was possible that entering a mystic realm was the seed of the Dragon Martial Academy. The few of them laughed and did not say much. After Chen Hao reported his contact number, they quickly left without knowing if they had remembered it or not. After they left, Xia Huyu looked at him in surprise. Chen Hao lowered his head and continued to follow him. He almost bumped into him. He scratched his head and said, "Fatty, why aren't you leaving?" Xia Huyu looked at him strangely and said in a low voice, "When you see Xia Chan, you kneel down and bow." "My surname is also Xia, do you know that?" Chen Hao said in a speechless manner, "You said it. I'm also a member of the Xia family, do you know that?" "I know." "Then you." Xia Huyu was speechless and quickly said, "What's your situation?" "These guys and, cough cough, those guys don't get along with each other. They're enemies, do you know that?" "I know." Chen Hao nodded. "Nonsense, of course I know." This fatty was asking idiotic questions. How could you make friends with such a stupid person? "Then why are you still?" Xia Huyu said as he frowned at him. After a long while, he said, "Big guy. Do you know? Those guys just now, not to mention my sister Xia Chan, the others almost all have the strength of the 10,000 stone realm." "I know." Chen Hao nodded. "It feels very strong. Then you, still want to stand up for that guy?" Xia Huyu roughly understood what he meant. He was a little surprised. "You, this guy, are quite brave. Acting like a grandson, I thought you were really a fool." Chen Hao smiled foolishly and said, "No, they are civilized masters, and I am a fighter. Fighters actually improve very quickly. We focus on our physical bodies, and I don't have many openings. I have 72 openings, and this time, I can enter your academy's secret realm. When I go back, I will be the strongest among US freshmen. I can apply for more resources, and I think I will be able to enter 10,000 stones very soon." Chen Hao laughed and said, "If I enter 10,000 stones, my physical body will definitely be stronger than that of a civilized master. If I go close to you, a civilized master would be beaten up by US fighters before they can even fly. Do you know? This fatty is so stupid. When was the year that the War Institution and the Civilization Institution sparred? It was not the year that the War Institution beat up the students of the Civilization Institution. If you go close to me, I'll kill you instantly. Little fatty, do you know? It wasn't like they were soaring in the sky. Before their willpower was manifested, there weren't many methods that civilized masters could use. After all, people like Su Yu were a minority." Xia Hu looked at him in surprise. "Holy shit. Even a dog that bites people doesn't bark. This guy, is he planning to ambush those guys? Holy shit. So ruthless." He was a little surprised and hurriedly said, "Let me tell you, that woman inside, Xia Chan, Xia Hoye's granddaughter, do you know? The Xia family is protected by experts." Chen Hao nodded and looked at him as if he was looking at a fool. "I know. I didn't prepare to know her. She's a member of the Xia family, so there must be guards outside. I say, those seniors shouldn't have guards, right?" Chen Hao looked at him with a strange expression. Didn't he understand? Those people were just ordinary people. They didn't have guards outside. He, a warrior, came to them on his own initiative. He was a genius of the Dragon Martial Academy, a private army of the Xia family, and a reserve force of the Dragon Martial Guards, the most reliable and honest soldiers. How great would it be if they went out on missions together with them? Just a few matters of merit. I can do all the dirty and tiring work, and I can even protect them. This is much more reliable than the warriors outside, right? His strength was just a little weak, but he was still in the golden cultivation stage. During this period of tens of thousands of stones, his progress was still very fast. Xia Huyo was completely speechless. This guy, was he really going to ambush those guys? He was very brave. At this moment, they were almost at the Mystic Realm area. Xia Huyo said in a low voice, "You said that you were sent by the Dragon Martial Academy, and they knew that it was fake the moment they checked." Chen Hao smiled foolishly and said, "It's nothing. I asked my teacher for help, and I really came in. It's just a name. The academy will definitely be happy to give me a name. According to Yu, it doesn't cost money, and I can still buy a name. Why wouldn't they be happy? The academy can still talk. Look, even Chen Hao can go to the secret realm of the civilized academy. As long as you work hard, the academy will also fight for a chance for you." Chen Hao said foolishly, "When the time comes, it will be real. The academy sent me here." Xia Hu was at a loss for words. How King reasonable? I'm actually speechless. You're here, you're in through your own personal connections. The Dragon Martial Academy can't wait for you to use your personal connections to give you a name. To be honest, there's probably nothing wrong with applying for a spot for Chen Hao. On the side of the Great Xia Civilization Academy, they probably wouldn't care too much. It was just a name, whatever. Chen Hao was already in. In this way, there was no loophole at all. You're from the Southern Yuan. Chen Hao scratched his head and said, "Yeah, but isn't the information of the students confidential? They're not big shots either. Do big shots still need to check my information?" Xia Hu was speechless. "Alright, I won't ask anymore. You rascal, play dumb. Holy shit. To think that I thought you were really silly. You're just like Suyu. No wonder you can play together. It's just that your talent is a little bad, but it's not bad. At least you've entered Dragon Martial Academy. With more opportunities in Dragon Martial Academy, you might be able to become a powerhouse." He stopped asking, but Chen Hao asked, "Do they hate you so much? Who's that Jiafeng?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 846. Chapter 846, Chapter 210, Foolish Entry into the Academy 4. A guy who was close to soaring into the sky. Did you hear that? He killed a soaring into the sky. Xia Huyo said casually. As for whether he hated him or not, he definitely hated him. He wished he could just kill Suyu. He was only in the academy. Otherwise, he would have killed him long ago. Oh. Chen Hao did not ask any more questions. He just asked one question and it was done. Xia Huyo could not hold it in any longer. You have to know that there are records when you go on missions. Oh. You will be finished. Even if you don't have any evidence and your guards are weak, your future will be limited if you leave behind some money. Oh. Oh, your grandpa. Xia Huyo asked curiously, "You don't want to go to the Dragon Martial Guards anymore?" Chen Hao smiled foolishly and said, "I do. But I couldn't go in the first place. I originally couldn't get in, but after you helped me, I got in." Xia Huyo was speechless. This guy, F***ck, he looks so honest. He's even more pleasing to the eye than Suyu. With a simple and honest face, even with my extraordinary eyesight, I think you're a reliable and good person. You have thick eyebrows and big eyes, but you're actually a bad person. Xia Huyo wasn't the only one who made a mistake. Mystic Realm Area. When Xia Huyo took out his token and handed in 100 merit points, Chen Hao called him grandpa awkwardly and foolishly. Elder Nie couldn't help but laugh. Where did this fool come from? Su Yu's friend? Xia Huyo looked at Elder Nie's smiling face and felt a little helpless. Was he stupid or not? He was Su Yu's friend, and you also believed that he was a good person. He was too lazy to say anything more and handed over a bottle of blood essence to Chen Hao. Xia Huyo exhorted, it's best to use up all of it. There's a lot of it. 100 drops. Su Yu asked me to pass it to you. What blood essence is this? Mountain ox. Oh. Chen Hao nodded and took the bottle of blood essence. He didn't ask any more questions and simply walked into the door. Xia Huyu was very tired. Did you know how much it was worth? To be honest, his heart ached. Chen Hao's talent wasn't that great. What was the point of using this? It was a bit of a waste. A total of 1,000 merit points. Adding the 100 merit points he spent to enter the secret area, it was 1,100 merit points. This was used by a top-tier genius to build his foundation. In the academy, even top-tier students were hard to come by. Did Chen Hao need to use this? Su Yu was really generous. The key point was that it was on credit. This guy spent money like water, and all the money from before had been used up. When he entered, Elder Nie also asked curiously, from the Dragon Martial Academy? His talent is average, but he's willing to spend a lot of money. Xia Huyo nodded and chuckled, Elder Nie, how far do you think this guy can cultivate to? It looks like he's at the 4th level of Qianjun. Elder Nie laughed, he doesn't have many openings. He can advance one level with 8 openings, and he's already at the 4th level with 16 openings. 100 drops of mountain-breaking ox blood essence is a big deal. In addition, he's a fighter, so he should have a chance of reaching the 4th level. The main reason was that there weren't many openings. Compared to some geniuses in the civilized academy, there were fewer of them. The geniuses here would usually cultivate a cultivation technique with 108 openings. Xia Huyo nodded. It was pretty much what he had imagined. There were some students in the academy who weren't good at the physical body Dao. After entering the secret realm and devouring 100 drops of mountain-breaking ox blood essence, they were confident that they could advance to the 2nd level. It could only be said that it was within the norm. The Dragon Martial Academy is already inferior to the Great Xia's War Institution to begin with. Furthermore, they are new students. Once they return to the academy, they will probably receive some attention as well. Xia Huyo calculated in his heart. It was still alright. At the end of the year, there were still 2 months left. It wouldn't be difficult for them to advance to level 5 or 6. He hoped that those fools just now wouldn't be greedy and really invite this fellow to join them on a mission. Otherwise, even if those people were not prepared, they would still be hacked to death in one strike. They would not even have the time to unleash their willpower. Without thinking about Chen Hao, Xia Huyo was just about to leave when Elder Nie suddenly said, seeing that kid just now, I remembered something. After Su Yu soared into the sky, why don't the Xia family recruit him into the Dragon Martial Guards? Xia Huyo frowned slightly. Elder Nie smiled and said, the Dragon Martial Guards are the Xia family's private army or the guards. No one dares to touch the Dragon Martial Guards. Su Yu himself has talent and has a bright future. What do you think? Xia Huyo laughed and said, Elder Nie, I want to too. The key is that he won't agree. Elder Nie nodded slightly and smiled. He then said, he'd better not show off. What about you? Aren't you going to show off? The Xia family has never had such a low-key direct descendant. Don't copy Master Xia Ho. After saying that, he said, moreover, when Master Xia Ho was young, he wasn't considered low-key. Xia Huyu laughed dryly and said, my strength is too weak, so I won't embarrass the Xia family. My sister Xia Chan is still very powerful. She's already at the critical juncture and is about to reach the 10,000 stone mark. I have high hopes for my sister. Elder Nie couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. Some people can't be too high profile, but some people can't be too low profile. You're too low profile. Even if you really manage the great Xia manor in the future, who would submit to you? Xia Huyo grinned and said, let's not talk about not necessarily. Even if I really inherit the great Xia manor, my grandfather is so overbearing, and my father is also incomparably overbearing. Each generation is more overbearing than the previous one. I'd better be gentler. Otherwise, if the fourth generation manor head is incomparably overbearing, the myriad clans in the heavens won't be able to watch our great Xia manor fight. After Xia Huyo finished speaking, he laughed mischievously and said, it's good that I'm a little cowardly. I'm a little cowardly. Perhaps I don't need to intervene and someone will help me rise to the top. They're afraid that my cousin Yuan will rise to the top and learn from my father. My cousin did not learn anything else, but my father's overbearing and unreasonable behavior is something that he has learned. The successive manor heads were all incomparably tyrannical people. If they insisted on fighting to the death with the myriad clans would also have a headache. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 847. Chapter 847, Chapter 210 Foolishly Entering the Public House 5. Xia Huyo was even thinking that there would be a day when those people hiding in the myriad clan cult would take the initiative to approach him and help him rise to power. A public house master who liked to do business, how great would that be? He was weak and couldn't convince the masses. If they didn't support him, it would simply be the loss of the myriad clan. Those who could help him rise to the top would definitely have a high position, and their strength would definitely not be weak. Hee. Xia Huyo smiled. I was just waiting for some higher-ups to come in contact with me. I really hoped that I could poach a few of them and capture them all in one fell swoop. As for being a little high profile, there was no need. Harmony begets wealth. I'm a businessman, so there's no need for me to imitate Su Yu. If I were to be too high profile, what would I do if I were to be assassinated? Elder Nie also smiled when he heard him say that. He didn't say anything else. Xia Huyo. This generation of the Xia family was really interesting. Xia Yuan, who wasn't his son, wanted to learn from Xia Longwu. His own son, on the other hand, wanted nothing more than to be separated from his own father. Alright, I got it. Elder Nie didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and said, go. Don't be an eyesore in front of me. There aren't many good people in your Xia family. Xia Huyo did not mind. He smiled, bowed, and left. There aren't many good people in the Xia family. Elder Nie actually slandered our Xia family. I have to come to this mystic realm a few more times. I have recorded and videotaped it. If you don't let me in for free, I will hand it over to my second grandpa and teach you a good lesson. He did not bother about Elder Nie anymore. He first thought about Chen Hao for a while, and very quickly, he shifted his attention to Su Yu. Zhai Feng had actually returned. The Department of Divine Literature was willing to spend a lot of money to directly pull out an empty stronghold. One had to know that in the stronghold of the 10,000 clans, those who were guarding the stronghold might be able to catch a big fish. He has so many strongholds of the 10,000 clans, but he doesn't know to report it. There hasn't been any progress over the years. Xia Huyo mumbled, a malignant tumor. He did not know what second grandfather and the others were thinking. Also, Su Yu's side had come out. They knew that Zhai Feng could also enter the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm. He did not know if they would challenge Zhai Feng in advance and heavily injure Zhai Feng. While Xia Huyo was thinking this, Zhou Pingsheng, who had just seen Zhai Feng, gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "If Su Yu really wants to challenge you, don't accept the challenge. Choose to ignore it and wait until you enter the mystic realm to come out." Zhai Feng felt a little aggrieved, but he still nodded. "Teacher, I got it. This time, killing one of the soaring cultivators can only offset your crime. The others are still unable to enter." Zhou Pingxing said, "Then," he said, "don't enter the soaring state. Our department is not lacking in the soaring state. If we lack the invincible state, we will at least occupy the first place in the top 100. This is our chance to wash away our shame. In addition, suppressing it will also help you stabilize your state." "I understand." Zhai Feng nodded. Although he was a little unwilling, he could not enter the soaring state. This was because the Divine Runes department was not lacking in the soaring state. What they lacked was his temperament, which was close to the soaring state and had extremely strong combat strength. Zhou Pingxing gave a few instructions and left quickly. After he left, Zhai Feng kicked the table in front of him to pieces. Su Yu. If not for him, he would not have had so much trouble entering the soaring stage directly after entering the mystic realm this time. In order to suppress Su Yu, he was actually restricted from advancing to the next level. The reason why the teacher spoke so nicely was to win glory for the single Divine One faction. In order to stabilize his realm, he had not given up on the position of the curator. As long as he did not enter the soaring stage, he still had a chance. Su Yu. Wuxia. Zhai Feng harumphed. The last time he was tricked, it definitely had something to do with the School of Divine Inscriptions. Just wait and see. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 848. Chapter 848, Chapter 211 Bad Memory, Guaranteed Monthly Ticket at the beginning of the month, 1. October 24th. The day before entering the mystic realm, Su Yu still did not show up. Many people were still looking forward to Su Yu challenging Zhai Feng before entering the mystic realm. However, after waiting for a few days, Su Yu still did not show up. They could not help but feel a little disappointed. Was Su Yu in closed-door cultivation? Or did he not dare to challenge Zhai Feng? After all, Zhai Feng's return this time was accompanied by the prestige of killing soaring into the sky. Although Su Yu was strong, his physical body was only extremely strong. Some people felt that Su Yu might not be a match for Zhai Feng and chose to retreat. This was very normal. This was Su Yu's personality. Last time, when he felt that he was not a match for Zhai Feng, he chose to give up the challenge. Disappointment was disappointment, but the spectators only felt that there was no good show to watch. There was nothing else to talk about. As for the single divine literature department, some people heaved a sigh of relief, while others felt regretful. There were many things to regret. Some people felt regretful that Zhai Feng did not have the chance to defeat Su Yu and clear the name of the single divine literature department. Some people regretted that the two of them did not fight and were not seriously injured. They could still enter the mystic realm. If the two of them fought, there might be a situation where both sides would be injured and two spots would be left empty. At this moment, Su Yu no longer paid attention to the commotion in the outside world. In Zhao Li's Research Institute. At this moment, on the huge model, 144 red dots were connected in a line. Zhao Li took a deep breath. He said solemnly, "It's just a possibility, but it doesn't mean that it's right. After all, there's no actual connection, so I'm not sure if I can combine the 4 sets of cultivation techniques together. However, after many deductions, this kind of connection is the most successful." As Zhao Li said that, he looked at Su Yu. He said in a deep voice, "You can learn these few sets of cultivation techniques first and form a separate system. Don't complete the connection. The deduction of cultivation techniques is a very strict thing. The slightest mistake could cause problems in your sea of consciousness." After pondering for a while, Zhao Li said, "Actually, there's no need to make a connection before you reach Lingyun. You still need a lot of time to reach Lingyun. Su Yu's eyes were red. He hadn't rested for a few days. Zhao Li was the same as him. The two of them had been deducing the matter of the 5 elements cultivation techniques merging into one for the past few days. Hearing Zhao Li's words, Su Yu nodded slightly. There was indeed no rush. When he reached the 9th level of the Soaring Heavens realm and was about to enter the Lingyun realm, he would need to undergo the integration of the 5 elements cultivation techniques to advance to the Lingyun realm. Before that, he would not be able to integrate the 5 elements cultivation techniques, which would not hinder his cultivation progress. Of course, the explosive power of his willpower would be slightly weaker. Meanwhile, Zhao Li made some calculations and said, actually, after opening 72 divine apertures, we can try to see if 2 sets of cultivation techniques can be combined into one. If 2 sets of cultivation techniques can be combined into one, the subsequent feasibility will be greatly increased. 72 divine apertures. Zhao Li compared them and chose 2 sets of cultivation techniques that didn't have a high degree of overlap with the Wanwen scripture. Similarly, he had 72 divine apertures, but he only had 8 overlapping divine apertures. He needed to open another 64 divine apertures. It's difficult to open divine apertures, but I have 72 divine apertures, so it won't be too slow to open them again. With the consumption of resources, I might be able to open one in 5 days, and I should be able to open all of them in a year's time. Zhao Li calculated in his heart that perhaps he could give it a try first. Opening 2 sets of divine apertures and combining them. If it was possible, it meant that the method of combining them was correct and feasible. If it wasn't possible, then there would be a mistake in the deduction. After all, it was just a model. 1 year. So you shouldn't be able to advance to Lingyun within a year, right? Not so fast. Thinking of this, Zhao Li said once again, cultivate first and remember the new unity connection method. I'll deduce it here. If it's possible, I'll let you know. Su Yu was also very tired. At this moment, he didn't think too much and nodded. He smiled and said, Teacher, it's already very good. At least according to our thoughts, this way of unity should be able to form a new cycle. If it really doesn't work, I'll try it slowly in the later stages. Su Yu wasn't too worried. Once the cultivation technique clashed, it would impact his sea of consciousness, causing it to be chaotic and even collapse. But in his sea of consciousness, there was still a golden atlas. With this thing around, would his sea of consciousness collapse easily? Impossible. Just give it a try and you'll know. Zhao Li didn't say much and exhaled, oh right, I'll try to cultivate these few cultivation techniques. Are there any objections? No. Su Yu smiled and said, Teacher, if you need it, I can also provide you with the 5th cultivation technique. Forget it. There are too many God openings. 4 is enough for me to drink a pot of wine. As Zhao Li said, he suddenly asked, what's the date today? Su Yu was stunned for a moment. After thinking for a moment, he quickly said, the 24th, it's now. He looked at the big clock on the wall. It was 11 o'clock. Then he looked out of the window. It should be night time. Fortunately. Su Yu immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He had almost forgotten that he still had to enter the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm. Tomorrow would be the 25th. There was also that fellow, Chen Hao. After he finished his cultivation, he sent a message saying that he had returned to the academy. There was no news about him. He didn't know how the results of his cultivation were. You have to enter the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm tomorrow, right? Zhao Li also remembered this matter. He reminded, that's enough. I'll try to deduce it later to see if it's consistent. Now, go back and rest early. It's not easy to open the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm once. Now, you need to open the God aperture, which will be very helpful to you. Su Yu nodded. These few days, he didn't cultivate, but it didn't mean that he didn't gain anything. Deducing the God Aperture Association method together with Zhao Li at least allowed him to grasp more knowledge about the God Aperture. He knew the sequence and position of opening the 144 God apertures like the back of his hand, and he had more understanding of the 5 elements technique. These things would be of great help to his subsequent cultivation. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 849. Chapter 849, Chapter 211, Bad Memory, Guaranteed Monthly Ticket at the beginning of the month, 2. Zhao Li didn't say anything else. He had Su Yu memorize the new connection route that he had deduced. Very quickly, a ball of flame appeared in his hand and burned the model completely. After burning the model, the divine runes shook in all directions, turning the remaining materials into powder. Following that, he collected all the powder. As he collected it, he said, "I'll deal with it later." You too. Take note, some experts' divine runes are very special, they can even reverse time. Don't leave any traces. Once this cultivation technique is spread out, it will be a great disaster. Su Yu hurriedly nodded. He was also very careful about this. He didn't dare to leave any traces. "Alright, you can go back first." As Zhao Li spoke, he seemed to have thought of something, and a golden crystal piece appeared in his hand. He threw it to Su Yu and said, "Incorporate it into your Sea of Will." Once someone uses tracking, listening, and prying divine runes to track you and pry into you, this anti-scouting soldier will change its color to warn you. It will emit different colors depending on the level. White is a 2nd grade divine rune, blue is a 3rd grade divine rune, red is a 4th grade divine rune, and purple is a 5th grade divine rune. Tier 5 means that a Sun-Moon tier warrior is spying on you. Once you turn purple, don't think or do anything. If you think about it, it will be easy for others to sense it. Su Yu played with this thing curiously. It was a very practical thing. It was also very precious. It could even sense the probing of a Sun-Moon tier warrior. This thing was probably very valuable. It even gave Su Yu the feeling that it was not inferior to some top-tier Xian tier or even Earth tier scribes. "Teacher, what level of soldiers are these?" "They are auxiliary in nature. There's no need to care about their level. They are called perceptive jade and can be considered a type of soldier. In fact, they only have perceptive effects." Even though Zhao Li said it casually, Su Yu still understood that just this one function was already very impressive. "Teacher, can I sense the willpower of that expert as well?" "Yes." Zhao Li nodded and said, "This thing is used as a warning, of course I can sense it." Su Yu was shocked. It was really a good thing. Especially in the wild, if someone were to spy on him in the dark, he would be able to quickly discover a life-saving treasure. Otherwise, if an expert were to spy on him, it would be very difficult for Su Yu to discover it unless the other party's will was very weak or he intentionally revealed it. "Teacher, do you still have this thing? Could this be something that Zhao Li used to save his own life?" "Nonsense, this is something that I forged." "Of course, I can still forge it." Zhao Li was too lazy to say anything else and said impatiently, "Alright, you can go back. Rest well tonight and adjust your condition. Tomorrow, go to the secret realm to absorb more willpower." Su Yu wanted to say a few more words, but seeing that Zhao Li had said so, he no longer put on airs. He put the perception jade into his Sea of Will and easily merged it into his Sea of Will. Zhao Li didn't waste any words and the divine text rippled. Instantly, the perception jade turned blue. Blue represented the Lingyun realm. The next moment, Zhao Li's will rippled. Su Yu didn't feel anyone spying on him, but the perception jade turned red. Red represented level 4, mountain and sea. Su Yu understood. Zhao Li's divine prose was tier 3, but his willpower had entered the mountain and sea realm, so there was a red alert. This meant that the mountain and sea realm had their eyes on him. What a magical thing! What sharp insight! Su Yu was secretly shocked. He did not find anything unusual, and if Zhao Li had not intentionally revealed it, he would not have been able to sense that Zhao Li was spying on him. In the end, the perception jade had sensed it. The perception jade does not represent everything. Zhao Li suddenly reminded, for example, some experts, other than the main divine language, have weak divine language. Even if there is only a white change, the divine language that is spying on you is a tier 2. Do not think that the enemy in the dark is a sky realm expert. It could be the mountains and seas, it could be the sun and moon, but the other party's surveillance divine language is only a tier 2. Do you understand? Su Yu nodded. Realization dawned on him. He had almost overlooked this point. It seemed like even if it was only white, he couldn't be careless. Who knew if it was a sun and moon realm expert, but the surveillance divine script was only at tier 2. White didn't necessarily mean soaring into the sky. Purple meant that it was the sun and the moon. If it wasn't the sun and the moon, there was no way to draw out tier 5 divine script. Of course, there were exceptions to everything. In any case, in such a situation, it was best to be careful. It was already late at night when he came out of Zhao Li Research Institute. It was quiet in the dead of night. The Institute of Civilization was very quiet. Su Yu held the voice transmission talisman in his hand and flipped through the information records. Xia Huyo left a few messages. It was not an important matter. Su Yu saw what happened to Zhai Feng, but he did not take it seriously. If he killed one, he might enter the Sea of Consciousness arcane realm. What does it have to do with me? I am a low-profile person. He did not intend to challenge Zhai Feng at all. It was very boring. Not to mention that he might not win, even if he did win, he would be injured and miss the Sea of Consciousness arcane realm. That would be a real loss. For a person like Zhai Feng, it was useless to hurt him once. He would remember to take the beating. Last time, when he was punished by the Inspector General, he did not learn his lesson. According to Mansion Master Wan, if he did not do it, he had to do it to the extreme. As for whether or not Mansion Master Wan had said that it wasn't important, Su Yu understood it this way. Other than Xia Huyo's message, there were other people who sent messages as well. Su Yu had 2 voice transmission talismans. One was used by the members of the association, and the other was used by him to open an account to fool people. On the side of the association, other than Xia Huyo sending messages, although Xia Huyo himself didn't know about the existence of the association, his voice transmission talisman was from the association system. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 850. Chapter 850, Chapter 211 Bad Memory, Guaranteed Monthly Ticket at the Beginning of the Month, 3. Besides Xia Huyo, there were other people who also sent the news. The complete list of the Sea of Consciousness arcane realm. This was Lin Yao's message. Not only that, he also added a message to remind Su Yu to be careful. This time in the arcane realm, there might be people who wanted to target him, surround him, and absorb willpower. He asked Su Yu to think of a way to contact some people to solve these problems as soon as possible. Su Yu slightly moved. Could it still be like this? He could think of it when it came to divine inscriptions alone. However, now that he had opened 44 divine apertures, if he really absorbed willpower, it might not be slower than those who soared into the sky. However, I can't make it too obvious. It didn't matter. Many people would go in. At most, he could get close to Xia Huyo and the others, including Wan Mingze and the others. If they dared to target me, would they dare to target the descendants of the Wan family? Or if he got close to Xia Chan, what would those people dare to do? It was a stupid plan. Su Yu did not take it seriously. This plan would not work at all. He was not stupid and insisted on competing with them. If he got close to Xia Chan and the others, unless these people also stopped cultivating for Xia Chan, would he not be afraid that the Xia family would hammer them to death? In addition, Lin Yao said something else. His senior brother, Yang Sha, was currently in the midst of his assessment. At the moment, he had not been pulled into the association. He would only be pulled in after he passed the assessment. Su Yu did not know whether to laugh or cry. It was up to him. This guy really took it as a big matter and went to do it. As for the name list of the Sea of Consciousness Mystic Realm, Su Yu saw many familiar faces. However, among Zhai Feng and the others, only Zhai Feng got the chance to enter. Huang Qifeng and Qiu Yun did not get the chance. Because killing one person would not be enough to offset their crimes. After reading the voice transmission talisman of the association, Su Yu started to read the voice transmission talisman of the Extermination Society. On the side of the Extermination Society, Su Yu had sent out a voice transmission talisman, the one belonging to Lu Hong. At this moment, the voice transmission talisman showed a message that had just been released. Huang 99, newbie reporting for duty. Do seniors have any advice? Tian Qi, everyone is cultivating. We don't have time to pay attention to you. Tianer, I'm currently chatting with a pavilion elder. Don't disturb me. Apart from Huang 99, the rest of the messages were automatically replied by fixed templates. There were fewer people now, so it wasn't a big problem. If there were more people, it would be easy to be exposed. Su Yu set up a few fixed templates to reply to the unique newbie, Lu Hong. The problem wasn't too big. Huang 99. Su Yu was speechless. You really are low-key. After thinking for a while, he replied with a message, Earth 8, have you given any pointers? Give me a warning. Don't provoke Principal Wan. Sun Moon Realm experts, be careful of being strangled to death. A moment later, there was a reply. Huang 99, Principal is in the Sun Moon Realm. The information says that he is at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Earth 8, as expected of a rookie. To actually believe in the information, he is really stupid. Earth 8, the Principal has broken through to the Sun and Moon realm for a long time. Earth 22, it's normal for newbies not to know. Since they don't know that the Principal has broken through to the Sun and Moon realm, he's definitely not an expert. Newbie, let me tell you a secret. Have you cultivated other races' divine texts? If you cultivate it, quickly destroy it. The human race's divine texts are the strongest. Earth 8, 22, only newbies can join. Don't speak nonsense. Earth 22, this isn't a secret to experts. Even the peak of the mountain and sea realm has some insights. The alt accounts chatted with each other, and Lu Hong, who was Huang 99, had a look of surprise on his face. What did he mean? He really didn't know. Was the human race's divine language the strongest? Stop fooling around. His heart was somewhat shaken, and Lu Hong quickly asked, why? Earth 22, why? Wait until you reach the mountain and sea realm and get stuck at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Of course, you should be a rookie. It's still early in the mountain and sea realm, and you might not reach the peak of the mountain and sea realm in your entire life. I'm just saying, it doesn't really matter. Lu Hong was speechless, but his heart wavered. What did he mean? You are at the peak of the mountain and sea realm? Don't joke with me. In the entire academy, there weren't many people at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. The 4 prefects were, and Hong Tan was the same as well. There were also a few other prefects, and some were also at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Could it be that there were peak-level experts among them? Huang 99, seniors, I am a newcomer, please take care of me. Isn't the divine language of the human race the weakest? Why is it said to be the strongest? Newcomers don't really understand. D22, call me Grandpa, I'll give you some pointers. Lu Hong almost died from anger. Call you Grandpa. But his heart really itched like a cat scratching. Why? I don't know the situation. After struggling for a while, forget it. Anyway, no one knew who Huang 99 was. Of course, Suyu might know, but he had observed for a few days and found that he wasn't the only newbie who had joined. A few days ago, there were a few others who had joined. Suyu might not know who he was either. He had waited for a few days before daring to come forward. At this moment, he hardened his heart. Since no one knew each other's identity, he could just shout. Huang 99, Grandpa, please give me some pointers. Suyu was speechless. Holy shit. This was definitely Lu Hong who didn't run away. The voice transmission talisman should still be in his hands. Holy shit, other than him, how could Pavilion Master Sun have the nerve to call others Grandpa when it came to divine runes alone? Stop fooling around. As for the human divine prose, Suyu was not the only one who knew about it. There were many people who knew about it. Hong Tan had also said that someone had raised this matter during the Pavilion Master meeting. Suyu did not waste any time and quickly replied. Earth 22, good grandson. So good. Grandpa, let me tell you. Although the divine prose is powerful now, when it reaches the peak of the mountain and sea realm and breaks through to the sun and moon realm, there might be some problems with repulsion, resulting in failure in advancing to the sun and moon realm. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 851. Chapter 851, Chapter 211 Bad Memory, Guaranteed Monthly Ticket at the beginning of the month, 4. Lu Hong was shocked. Is that so? He really didn't know about this. Does that mean that the higher-ups in the academy might know about this news? He wanted to ask a few more questions, but this senior who was willing to pay attention to him quickly replied to another message. Earth 22, good grandson, Grandpa has to go out. Talk to you next time. Lu Hong was depressed. You're the grandson. However, this fellow ran away, and the others didn't reply to him either. This left Lu Hong helpless. Forget it, I'll take a look at the situation next time. When there are more people around, I'll pop up again. It'll be good to look familiar. Who would have thought that the first time he popped up, he would receive a few important pieces of information. First, the head of the manor was a sun-moon realm cultivator. Second, the mountains and seas shattered the sun and the moon, and the divine writing of the gods and demons affected him. Then why didn't the sun and the moon have this problem before? It was a pity that before he could ask this question, the other party had already run away, and no one was paying attention to him anymore. Extermination Society. In the villa, Lu Hong's eyes flickered as he deleted a few messages to prevent Pavilion Sun from finding out about his dark history the next time. This fellow is really shameless. Suyu was also speechless. He could even call out grandfather. It was only now that it was difficult to expose him. Otherwise, if the truth were to be exposed, would this fellow still have the face to live? Probably. In any case, Lu Hong was indeed very shameless. He didn't bother about Lu Hong anymore. Extermination Society was just a product that was randomly created. Later on, he would randomly send some voice transmission talismans to expand the scale. Perhaps, it would have some effect. Now, if he wanted to obtain any top-secret information or important intelligence from Lu Hong, it would all be nonsense. When this guy took the bait himself, he would be interested in extermination. Perhaps he would leak some information. When he returned to the research center, Hong Tan had actually returned. When he saw that Suyu had returned, he did not ask anything. Very quickly, he said, when I enter the mystic realm tomorrow, I will go over too. I will open the mystic realm together with Zhou Mingren and the others to maintain the opening of the mystic realm for a longer period of time. In the mystic realm, in principle, you are not allowed to disturb the other party. However, once you enter the mystic realm, these people may not follow the rules. You should be careful. I got it. Thank you for your reminder, Grandmaster. Suyu said, Grandmaster, I have entered the mystic realm. Can I stay until the end? Yes. Hong Tan nodded. Very quickly, he said, however, when the mystic realm is opened, the willpower that you can absorb is limited. In the first part, it is to strengthen your willpower. In the second part, it is mainly to nurture willpower in divine runes. When you cannot absorb it, do not absorb it anymore. This is to prevent the sea of willpower from rising. And, I got it. Suyu hurriedly nodded. Hong Tan continued, when you come out of the mystic realm, it will probably be a few days later. Very soon, it will be next month. Your master and my senior brother are going to leave the great Xia mansion and head to the heavenly battlefield. As Hong Tan spoke, he sighed and said, I hope they are fine. Do not run around these few days. Find time to say goodbye to them. When these words were said, Suyu also felt a little uncomfortable. Going to the heavenly battlefield was a narrow escape, especially since it was the vanguard camp. Half a year ago, he sent his father away. Half a year later, his two teachers were going to the heavenly battlefield. Suyu didn't feel good either. The people he was close to were all sent to the heavenly battlefield. If it was a normal recruitment, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But now, it wasn't. They were sent there as punishment. Suyu naturally didn't feel good. It was all caused by the single divine text. Sooner or later, he would teach them a lesson. Hong Tan also fell silent. His senior brother and disciple had gone to the heavenly battlefield. This made him feel bad. If he went, it was hard to predict whether he would live or die. He had just returned from the heavenly battlefield and they had already gone. Sigh. Thinking of this, Hong Tan suddenly thought of something. Did I forget something? That's right, I just came back from the heavenly battlefield, then why did I go to the heavenly battlefield? The next moment, Hong Tan's expression changed. Holy shit. I actually forgot, that thing isn't dead, right? If it's dead, then I'll suffer a huge loss. P.S. Today I'm attending the wedding, the afternoon one is more likely to be a little later, there are 3 more, at the beginning of the month ask for a monthly ticket, double monthly ticket to support it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 852. Chapter 852, Chapter 212 Entering the Mystic Realm, Double Monthly Ticket 1. Hong Tan recalled this matter and hurriedly sent out a wave of willpower. A moment later, a small hairy ball appeared before Suyu's eyes. A small white hairy ball. At this moment, 2 small black dots suddenly appeared on the hairy ball. Those were eyes. Suyu was stunned. What was that? Why was Grandmaster doing all these strange things? Just as he was thinking, little hairy ball opened its eyes and suddenly revealed a small pink nose. It moved its nose and in the next moment, with a whoosh, it broke free from Hong Tan's hand and quickly flew towards Suyu. Before Suyu could react, he felt something drilling into his sea of consciousness. How dare you! Hong Tan shouted angrily and suddenly reached out to grab it. With a creak, he grabbed little hairy ball in his hand and said angrily, You're courting death. Yeah. The ball seemed to be screaming and begging for mercy. However, its black eyes were looking at Suyu. Hong Tan also looked at Suyu and asked curiously, What special divine runes did you draw? This little guy said that he smelled a fragrance and wanted to eat it. Suyu was speechless. What did he mean? What was this thing? This is the God-devouring clan. Of course, I named it myself. Seeing that hairy ball was fine, Hong Tan felt a little relieved. He smiled and said, It took me months and a lot of energy to catch this little guy. God-devouring clan? Suyu was surprised. Was there such a clan? Bai Feng had said before that a new clan had appeared on the heavenly battlefield. Hong Tan had only gone to the heavenly battlefield for a few months and had not returned. Grandmaster had gone there for this little hairy ball. Don't underestimate it. Hong Tan said with a pained expression, this thing isn't weak. It specializes in devouring divine runes. It can drill into the sea of consciousness and directly devour. Of course, its level isn't high. Its counterpart should be at the soaring heaven tier. Currently, it can only devour tier 2 divine runes. As he said that, he said with a helpless expression, in order to fish this fellow, several of my divine runes were devoured by it. It directly devoured them by the roots. Devouring God Clan. This was the first time a clan appeared in the heavenly battlefield. It was very mysterious and also very powerful. Devouring divine runes. The kind that swallowed by the roots directly drilled into the sea of consciousness to swallow. It was a very terrifying ability. Su Yu was also shocked. He could swallow divine runes. F***ck. This guy just flew toward him and even felt that his sea of consciousness was drilled by something. Could it be that he wanted to enter his sea of consciousness to swallow the divine runes? If he was devoured, wouldn't he be finished? It was not easy for him to sketch out a few divine runes. As he was thinking, Su Yu's heart moved slightly. This little hairy ball said that it was very fragrant. Could it be that it was eyeing the golden atlas? Was it that sharp? No, it was courting death. Although Su Yu did not know how strong the atlas was, if it was divine runes, it was at least at the true eternal realm. If this little hairy ball could devour eternal divine runes, then it was not at the soaring realm. Yeah. The little hairy ball was a little anxious. It looked at Su Yu anxiously, but it could not tell which was the face. It only had 2 eyes and a nose. It seemed to be very anxious. Hong Tan listened for a while and explained again, this new race does not know the common language. I do not know the language of their race, so I can only make some general judgments. Su Yu couldn't help but ask, Grandmaster, the new race, does that mean that they didn't appear in the heavenly battlefield before? Yes. Hong Tan explained, the heavenly battlefield is a special plane that connects with other worlds. Each world can open an entrance to the heavenly battlefield. The heavenly battlefield is a transfer plane for all worlds, and it doesn't have any suppression on all worlds. Some of the worlds may have opened their entrances because they just discovered the grand heavens battlefield. Some may have discovered it long ago, but there are no experts. Without the strength of the mountains and seas, there is no way to open the entrance to the grand heavens battlefield. To be able to open the entrance means that a powerful expert from the mountains and seas has appeared in this race or this world. As he spoke, Hong Tan held the little hairy ball, he shook it a bit and said, this god-devouring clan should have just opened the passageway to the realm. I've never seen it before. This time, I spent a lot of effort to find its whereabouts. This little fellow is very difficult to deal with. It can burrow into the sea of will and swallow divine runes. Moreover, its body is in the middle of an illusion, somewhat similar to a literary soldier. This was also the reason why he had just taken it out. He had left it in the sea of will, but he had never bothered with it. Recently, he had been busy again. In addition, this fellow was very honest in his sea of consciousness, so he had almost forgotten about it. Su Yu stared curiously at the little furball. The little furball was also staring at him. Its nose kept twitching, as if it had smelled some fragrance. Even though it was being held by Hong Tan, it kept looking at Su Yu. Su Yu was also looking at it. Devouring divine runes, it was quite a powerful ability. However, he did not care too much. Hong Tan had captured the other party and was probably preparing to use it for research. Just as he was thinking, he heard Hong Tan say, this thing is not easy to lock up. I will create a special cage later. You will have to go into seclusion and help me raise it. This thing will not eat anything else but divine runes. You know about the divine runes fragment rune, right? Get some broken divine runes for it to eat. Don't starve it to death. Eat divine runes. Suyu bared his teeth and said, it's really hard to serve. How can there be so many divine runes for it to eat? Will it eat willpower? Eat it too. Hong Tan nodded with a smile and said, this thing is actually the most suitable to be thrown into a pile of dead people to raise. Especially when it's a pile of dead civilized masters. Moreover, they have a trick up their sleeves. Once they fight a civilized master, the tier 2 divine runes will appear and be swallowed by it in an instant. That'll be interesting. The main battle style of a divine scribe was the divine runes. Once the divine runes were swallowed, they would be at the mercy of others. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 853. Chapter 853, Chapter 212 Entering the Arcane Realm, Double Monthly Ticket 2. Suyu touched his chin and said, don't say, Grandmaster, will this thing devour the divine runes and cause your sea of consciousness to collapse? No, and it's very secretive. You can't even feel it. Suyu's eyes lit up. Grandmaster, this isn't used to kill people. It's a medical-type divine beast. Hong Tan was slightly taken aback. Suyu hurriedly said, you mean that this thing will not cause a backlash from the Sea of Will when it devours the divine runes? Then now, some of us want to shatter the divine runes, but they are shattered. Shattering our own divine runes is a small matter, but it's mainly a backlash. Once these words were said, Hong Tan's eyes lit up as well. That's right. He had almost never thought that, or rather, no one was willing to let the divine runes he had drawn shatter and disappear, so this thing devouring the divine runes was a disaster. But now, there was a problem with the divine runes. Some people wanted to give up, but they were unwilling. On one hand, they were unwilling to let the divine runes shatter, and on the other hand, they were worried that people would die if the divine runes shattered. The backlash was too severe. But if he used this little fur ball of the devouring god clan to swallow it, would he be able to solve the problem of the conflict between the divine runes without any pain or injury? Hong Tan's eyes lit up. That's right, it does have medicinal effects. This thing, devouring the divine runes, is actually equivalent to a medical anesthetic. It will anesthetize your sea of consciousness so that you won't be able to feel the existence of the divine runes. Then, you'll be devoured by it. In this way, you can resolve the conflict between the divine runes without any pain, and you can also make it stronger. As he spoke, Hong Tan frowned again and said, it's a little weak, so it only rose into the air and could only devour tier 2 divine runes. Now, the main thing that I want to change is actually the divine runes above the mountains and seas. If it's too powerful, it won't be able to devour it. He himself was like this. Divine runes were very powerful. Even if he threw this thing into the Sea of Will, it wouldn't be able to devour it. If this thing was here, Bai Feng wouldn't have needed to shatter it earlier. It would have backfired on him and caused him serious injuries. He could have let this thing selectively devour a portion of the divine runes. Hong Tan said a few words and quickly said, I'll study it for a few days first. Later, I'll throw it into the detention area and lock it up. Don't forget to feed it. Suyu laughed dryly and didn't say much. I often forget. The group of great demons downstairs hadn't been fed for almost a week, but fortunately, it didn't take long. Let's wait. We'll talk after we leave the mystic realm. As he was thinking, the little fur ball in Hong Tan's hand suddenly struggled and drilled towards Suyu. Hong Tan frowned slightly and pinched this thing. Yeah. The little furball squeaked anxiously. Hong Tan frowned and barely managed to identify it. He roughly translated it and said, it seems to be saying that you have a fragrance on your body. Suyu was speechless. Fragrance? It was the smell of death. Could it be that this little guy really had his eyes on the golden atlas? Was he courting death? The little hammer of the expanding spirit technique was already overbearing enough. In the end, when he wanted to attack the atlas last time, he turned around and ran far away. He was frightened. Did this little furball still want to devour his golden atlas? Suyu smiled and said, "If this thing is used well, it is also a powerful pet. Grandmaster, you should study it first. I will also study it later to see if I can get a devouring type divine inscription. As for raising it as a mount, forget it. Don't let this fellow devour all of your divine inscription. That would be too much for me to cry." Hong Tan did not continue chatting with Hong Tan. It seemed that Hong Tan was also interested in this little furball. He grabbed the other party and went to the research room. He did not know if he would stay up all night to study it. Before leaving, the little furball still kept drilling towards Suyu. Both of its eyes kept looking at him. It smelled good. It smelled so good. If he ate it, he would definitely become so powerful. Unfortunately, Suyu did not understand its meaning, and Hong Tan could only roughly distinguish it. He also did not understand the specific meaning. That night, Suyu took a short rest, adjusted his condition, and waited for the next day's trip to the mystic realm. October 25th. Early in the morning, Suyu woke up. He didn't go alone. Chen Yong and Wuxia also came early in the morning. Hong Tan also walked out of the experiment excitedly. If he hadn't remembered that he was going to open the arcane realm today, he wouldn't have been able to prepare to come out. The moment he came out, he said excitedly, "Kid Su, you're right. I tested that thing again, and it indeed has the effect of numbing the sea of will. I'll go back and ask Wu Yuehua if I can extract some substances. If I can create a kind of medicinal pill with a numbing effect, that would be amazing. It can be used as a poison, numbing the sea of will of civilized masters." Suyu thought about it, and it seemed to make sense. If this thing could remove the divine runes painlessly, it could indeed numb the sea of consciousness. Once it really created a poison, it could directly poison a civilized master until he couldn't move. Teacher. Seeing his teacher excited, Chen Yong had no choice but to say, "It's about time, it's time to go to the secret realm." Right, I almost forgot about this." Hong Tan chuckled. He was in a good mood. The newly captured god-devouring clan was very powerful. He felt that he had a source of income. Once he cultivated them to the mountain and sea realm, he could devour the mountain and sea divine texts. Perhaps, he could use them as a money-making beast. He specialized in helping people remove those unwanted divine texts. There was still no backlash. What a good demonic beast. Suyu ignored them and whispered to Wuxia, "Senior sister, have you learned the heaven-shaking scripture?" "Yes." "Then after you enter, don't run around. Follow behind Xia Huyo." Suyu reminded her in a low voice, "Otherwise, if you absorb willpower too quickly, people will find you abnormal." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 854. Chapter 854, Chapter 212 Entering the Mystic Realm, Double Monthly Ticket 3. Xia Huyo had opened his god's aperture, so his absorption speed was not slow. Wu Jia followed him, so she was not worried about being discovered by others. It was to prevent her from following other recuperating students and absorbing willpower too quickly. If she was discovered to be unusual, it would also be troublesome. As for Suyu himself, he wanted to see if there were any fellows from the single Divine One faction who had just entered the sky. He could just follow those fellows. It wasn't suitable for him to be too strong. Those who had just entered the sky would definitely not be able to absorb willpower as fast as him. Moreover, he could even cover up some abnormalities. As for the other parties feeling that something was amiss, it wasn't up to you. You absorbed it yourself, yet you insist on saying that Suyu absorbed it. Are you trying to slander me? Those fellows from the Divine Literature Department originally wanted to target me. There's no need for you to target me, I'll help you. I'll go in myself and get close to your people. Wuxia hurriedly nodded, indicating that she understood. Up ahead, Chen Yong smiled, and Hong Tan also smiled. He sent a voice transmission, that kid Suyu still has talent and brains. Are you planning to set him up with Jia Jia? Let nature take its course. Chen Yong transmitted his voice, Master, the younger generation's matters are up to them. On the other hand, Suyu's strength didn't seem to have improved in the past few days, but his willpower has been cleared up quite a bit. Has he figured it out and stopped being stubborn? He figured it out on his own. I don't know what's going on either. Hong Tan was also speechless. Who knew how this kid figured it out? This was a good thing. He couldn't be bothered to ask anything else. As he spoke, Hong Tan continued, your martial uncle and your junior brother are leaving soon. I'm worried about them. Once I enter the sun and moon, I'll soon go to the heavens battlefield. As for you, why don't you break through to the mountain and sea realm and help out in the heavens battlefield? I'll guard the academy. Master, you can go. Even if I break through to the mountain and sea realm, I won't be able to help martial uncle and the others. Chen Yong shook his head, very quickly, he said, the Divine Literature Battle Technique Wall, the Book Collection Pavilion, and the Wentan Research Center all need someone to look after them. Xia Yinchi and the other uncles also need someone to help them comb through the divine literature. If you're not around, I can do it. If you really leave, then this great Xia Institute of Civilization will have nothing to do with us. Hong Tan sighed and looked at him without saying anything else. After taking a few more steps, he suddenly said, Master knows that you have a knot in your heart, but is it useful to keep it bottled up in Lingyun? Chen Yong didn't say anything. Your foundation is too deep, and your physical strength isn't strong enough. Once you advance, I'm afraid that your physical body will explode. At that time, if you fail to walk the path of an undefeatable civilized master, there's almost no hope for you to become undefeatable in your physical body. Master, that's too far away from me. Far. Hong Tan scolded him telepathically, far away from what? Back then, I took you in because your talent was shocking. I even thought that you were second to my senior brother, stronger than me. You've been in the academy for 40 years, and it's been decades since you broke through to Lingyun. If you hadn't been stuck, you would have long reached the 8th or 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. Let's wait a little longer. Chen Yong said softly, now is not the time. As he said that, Chen Yong said telepathically, Master, I have cleaned up quite a bit of those fellows who attacked back then. There are still a few who have yet to show themselves. The mastermind who ambushed me back then was definitely a Shanghai realm cultivator. After so many years, perhaps the sun and moon have already passed. Even if it hasn't reached the sun and moon, the difference shouldn't be too big. I can help you. No need. He knows that I'm waiting for him to show himself, so all these years, Master, you've been here, but he has never appeared. A few months ago, you went to the Zhutian battlefield, but unfortunately, you came back too quickly. Chen Yong regretted that something had gone wrong. Otherwise, Hong Tan would have stayed in the heavenly battlefield for a longer period of time. Hong Tan was here, and the mastermind who had ambushed him back then didn't dare to appear. All these years, he had also killed many people, forcing that person to go into hiding. This time, Hong Tan's departure was actually a good opportunity to lure the snake out of its hole. After saying this, Chen Yong continued, this fellow might have something to do with the invincible behind the scenes, or perhaps it has something to do with the single divine text. Master, now that you've revealed your strength, he won't dare to show himself. When you go to the heavenly battlefield, it will also be the time for me to break through the mountains and seas. He would take advantage of that day to kill the enemy. Revenge. Hong Tan sighed and did not try to persuade him further. He felt that it was actually safer to break through. Clearly, Chen Yong did not think so. While they were talking, they arrived at the Mystic Realm area. In a hall that was much bigger than the Yuan Qi Mystic Realm. At this moment, the students and teachers who were about to enter the Mystic Realm arrived one after another. Zhou Mingren also appeared. The few pavilion elders from the single Divine One faction were all present. Many other pavilion elders had also arrived. Once Hong Tan, Chen Yong, and the others arrived, the main hall instantly fell silent. Su Yu saw Zhai Feng at a glance. That gaze, that gaze. It was as if he could not wait to fight to the death with him. Su Yu lowered his head and did not look. It was meaningless. Many familiar faces, Zhan Hai, Xia Huyo, Wan Mingze, Hu Qiusheng, Xia Chan. The familiar students were all present at this moment. In addition, they saw Wu Lan, Lu Ku, and the others. Su Yu wasn't surprised that Wu Lan could enter, but he was surprised that the short Lu could enter. The other party was also a student of the Divine Alchemy Department, but the Divine Alchemy Department didn't seem to get many spots this time. This woman was either too talented, or she had someone in her family. As for Zhang Hao of the Divine Talisman Department and Lin Yao and the others of the Divine Literature Department, this wasn't surprising. There were quite a few new students entering the Mystic Realm this time. There weren't many old students. Su Meng, the descendant of Principal Su, Hu Qiusheng, the descendant of Chief Hu, Wan Mingze, the family members of Principal Wan. Those with backgrounds were able to easily obtain a spot. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 855. Chapter 855, Chapter 212 Entering the Arcane Realm, Double Monthly Ticket 4. There was also a girl who looked familiar. Su Yu remembered her. She seemed to be the daughter of the director of the Department of Strengthening and Nurturing. She was also in the crowd at this moment. The other party was also an honest person. Last time, they said they wanted 3 books, so they didn't ask for more than 1. However, they didn't ask for less than 1. In the field of divine runes alone, there were many people who didn't give their will of the last time, but this person didn't ask for less than 1. If they said 3 books, they meant 3 books. This time was no exception. The Ji family didn't have any experts working in the academy, but Ji Xiaomeng still easily took a spot without any pressure. The people of the God Language Department dared to provoke Hong Tan, but they didn't dare to provoke that person. Is everyone here? Zhou Mingren was too lazy to say anything. He looked around, he said calmly, we have all the materials needed to open the secret realm. It can last for 3 days. Old Sun and I can last for a day. The rest of the time, we need others to help us. Hong Tan smiled. I can last for 1 day. In the crowd, Elder Qi said calmly, I will also last for 1 day. I will try my best to open the secret realm in 3 days. Don't waste the Milky Way sand. That's good. Zhou Mingren said calmly, this time, the secret realm should be able to accommodate 33 people, 5 people, and 3 people from Lingyun. 41 people. There were less than 50 people. As there were people from the sky and Lingyun, these people would consume more things than those from the spirit realm. They would all stay in the secret realm and create a lot of pressure. It would be much more difficult for the mountains and seas outside to maintain the secret realm. Among the 5 people in the sky, one of them was Lu Hong. There were also 3 men and 1 woman, all from the single Divine Language Department. It was probably a few pavilion elders who split the quota. As for the 3 people in the Lingyun realm, Su Yu did not see them. Pavilion Elder Qi asked curiously, Lingyun, who are the few who have entered? Me. At this moment, a figure blocked the sunlight at the entrance of the main hall. Xia Yuan's expression was calm. His injuries had already recovered and his face was slightly pale. It was as if he had completely adjusted himself. He walked in and said calmly, "I want to enter this time." Everyone looked at him in surprise. Didn't they say that Xia Yuan was recuperating at home and didn't dare to go out anymore? He actually came out. At this moment, someone laughed and said, "I'm going in too." Hu Wensheng. Everyone was surprised at first, but then they realized that Hu Wensheng had successfully leveled up. This fellow was in the same boat as Xia Yuan. They had both been dealt a heavy blow by Baifeng. However, speaking of which, Hu Wensheng was slightly better off than Xia Yuan. After all, it was an aerial battle. Although his defeat was ugly, compared to Xia Yuan, Hu Wensheng should be rejoicing. Out of the 3 Lingyun students, 2 had appeared. They were all the prodigies of Baifeng's generation. It was a pity that Baifeng wasn't around, or else today would have been a good day. Not only did Hu Wensheng come himself, but he also brought along 2 of his students, Chen Qi and Guo Xingquan. Chen Qi's side was still fine. This time, he had been allocated a spot, but Guo Xingquan. The expressions of elder son and the others were a little strange. Guo Xingquan hadn't been allocated a spot. Even though this fellow could be considered the strongest student in the single divine language department. Wensheng. Pavilion Master's son glanced at Guo Xingquan. Without waiting for him to ask a question, Guo Xingquan respectfully said, "I am a student recommended by Pavilion Master Hu. Pavilion Master's son, I will not take up another person's spot." Once these words were said, Pavilion Master's son's expression didn't look too good. Zhou Mingren also frowned slightly. The elder Hu that he mentioned was a low-key elder in the academy, the so-called elder of a third-party faction. This time, they were also given a spot, and Guo Xingquan was given it. Elder Qi was too lazy to say anything. He said, "The 2 Lingyuns have arrived." "Who's the other one?" "Me." In the crowd, Zhou Pingsheng, who had been ignored all this time, suddenly spoke. The moment he said that, many people had strange expressions on their faces. Elder Qi frowned and said, "Director Zhou is already at the 7th level of Lingyun realm. Let's forget about this. First, there's a limit to his advancement. It's better to give some newbies a chance. Second, once he enters, the pressure on the mystic realm will be too great. The mountain and sea realm, which is in charge of maintaining the realm, will have a huge increase in pressure. If Director Zhou doesn't enter, it wouldn't be a problem for 5 other people to enter." It was somewhat beyond their expectations. They also didn't expect that Zhou Pingsheng would actually be allowed to enter. After all, he was already at the 7th level of Lingyun realm and could be considered a high-ranking member of the academy. In the end, he even wanted to enter this secret realm. Wasn't this not giving a chance to the newbies? Xia Yuan and the others were still fine. After all, they were still young. Zhou Pingsheng was truly a little shameless. Zhou Mingren said indifferently, "I agreed." Moreover, a portion of the materials needed to open the secret realm belonged to Pingsheng. Back then, when he entered the Starry Manor, he also seized a lot of heavenly river sand. Without him, he might not be able to open the secret realm. Zhou Pingsheng was also a genius student in the past. Otherwise, he would not have been accepted by Zhou Mingren. He had also been to the Starry Mansion. He had seized the heavenly river sand. This was also the key to opening the secret realm. Obviously, Zhou Pingsheng had made up his mind to go in. When he wanted to go in, Hong Tan frowned and did not say anything. However, he quickly transmitted his voice to Suyu, "Be careful. This guy might target you." Suyu nodded indiscernibly. Indeed, Zhou Pingsheng's help was limited when he entered the mystical realm. He insisted on going in, and even asked for a few spots. Perhaps it was to deal with Suyu. Suyu was thinking, when Hong Tan said, "I think, in order to give the students more opportunities, it's better to add a layer of star-shifting formation and scatter the students into the mystical realm to avoid being disturbed by others." Then, he said, "In addition, there is no danger in the Sea of Consciousness secret realm. I hope nothing bad will happen to any students, otherwise." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 856. Chapter 856, Chapter 212 Entering the Arcane Realm Double Monthly 5. He gave Zhou Pingxing a deep look and said, "Killing a student, only death awaits. Not only will I die, but my family, teachers, and students will also be implicated. Elder Zhou, what do you think?" Zhou Mingren said calmly, "Of course. That's good." Hong Tan smiled and said, "Then add another layer of the star-shifting formation." Then he transmitted his voice to Su Yu and said, "Forget about the first day. I'll take over the opening of the mystic realm on the second day. I'll give you a special lesson and move this guy away from you. Follow the traces I left behind. I'll make a place with a high purity of willpower for you to cultivate." He implied that Su Yu should not fight with these people on the first day to avoid trouble. "There's no need, right?" Zhou Mingren said plainly, "The secret realm is only so big, why waste your energy?" Hong Tan chuckled and said, "There's still a need. I'm not worried about the recuperating students, but I'm worried about those soaring in the air and Ling Yun. Once they advance and are disturbed, it'll be troublesome. The students don't have much eyesight either. Once they break into their breakthrough zone, it'll be troublesome, right?" As he said that, he looked at Su Yu and smiled. "Su Yu, don't run around. Some people will break through. Once you run around, the other party can't kill you and you don't even dare to seriously injure you. Yet, you don't have any discerning eyes. That'll be troublesome." Su Yu said foolishly, "Grandmaster, I got it. I'll pay attention." What he meant was that once they entered, if Zhou Pingxing interfered with them, they would stop cultivating and interfere with others. Let's see who would suffer the most. Zhou Mingren frowned slightly and quickly said, "All right." Zhou Pingxing was at the 7th level of Lingyun realm, so it was easy for him to find Su Yu. If they really gathered together and Su Yu went to disturb others, then the secret realm would have been opened for nothing. Zhou Mingren did not waste any more words. Countless materials appeared out of thin air in front of him and he shouted, "Then all of you go in. Remember, you must not disturb others' cultivation for no reason." As he said this, he intentionally glanced at Su Yu. Then, he glanced at Zhou Pingxing. "Don't cultivate anymore." The mission this time was to make this brat unable to cultivate. "Understood." Zhou Pingxing replied with a smile on his face. The other people's gazes were completely different. There was no need to ask, they already knew what would happen after they entered. This time, the single Divine Prose faction allowed a 7th level Ling Yun to enter directly to interfere with Su Yu. This was also a huge price to pay. Otherwise, a few more students would have been able to enter. Of course, this was also related to the fact that Su Yu had crippled many of the other party's students. Since they hadn't recovered yet, they wouldn't be able to cultivate even if they went in. Hong Tan didn't say anything either. If he didn't cultivate properly on the first day, he would naturally resolve this problem on the second day. Su Yu would be able to absorb enough energy for one day. Everyone didn't waste any more words. In the main hall, a door was opened. The few Shanghai realm experts made their moves one after another, and their willpower burst forth to maintain the appearance of the door. "Go in." Along with a clear shout, everyone walked toward the door. Su Yu and Wuxia entered separately. Wuxia entered first, and Zhou Pingxing waited calmly for Su Yu. As for Su Yu, he didn't say anything. When someone was about to enter, he suddenly stepped into the middle and followed them into the door. "Xia Chan." He and Xia Chan ran in together. Zhou Pingxing cursed in his heart and was about to follow them in when Hong Tan suddenly sneezed. Achoo! With a sneeze, the entire entrance to the mystic realm trembled and Zhou Pingxing was instantly blocked. Zhou Mingren frowned and looked at Hong Tan. Hong Tan laughed dryly and said, "I'm not feeling well. Someone must be scolding me." Sorry, continue to open the door." "Sorry." The others remained silent. Even a fool would know that he was doing it on purpose. However, it had to be said that this fellow was too powerful. With just a sneeze, the entrances to the secret realm that were maintained by the mountains and seas actually trembled. Zhou Pingxing cursed in his heart, but he didn't dare to open his mouth. He waited for the entrance to stabilize before quickly entering the door. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 857. Chapter 857, Chapter 213 Shooting for One-Shot Show Monthly Ticket Subscription, 1. Suyu didn't care about what happened outside. His vision blurred, and Suyu appeared in a new territory. Not far away, Xia Chan tilted her head and frowned at him. The two of them were teleported together. After all, they entered at the same time. Suyu smiled, with a simple and honest face. At this moment, the willpower in the mystical realm was strong, but not too strong. Because the people outside hadn't all entered yet, and the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm hadn't really opened yet. These were just the willpower accumulated during normal times. Suyu ignored Xia Chan and looked around. The place was not small. He could not see the end of it at a glance. In his field of vision, he could not see the tracks of the others, nor did he know how big this mystic realm was. The Yuan Qi mystic realm was not small. Suyu had entered it many times, but now, he was only lingering around the area with thousands of rocks. After looking for a while, Suyu turned around and ran. Xia Chan frowned slightly and shouted, "You were afraid of being targeted by Zhou Pingxing, so you deliberately entered with me. Why are you leaving now?" "I'll go to other places to take a look so as not to affect student Xia's cultivation." Suyu had a simple and honest face. He turned around and replied before running away. "I followed you in just to make a careless mistake. I'll find a place to hide and cultivate." As he said that, he turned his head and shouted again, "Student Xia, you won't betray me, right? Brother Hu Yu is my brother, a family member." Xia Chan snorted lightly and couldn't be bothered with him. Suyu smiled and quickly disappeared in front of her eyes. When Xia Chan couldn't see him anymore, Suyu hurriedly changed his direction and ran to the side. Then, he made a few more turns and carefully avoided everyone, keeping an eye on his surroundings. In his mind, he used the sensing jade to sense his surroundings to see if anyone was monitoring him. At the same time, a voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. "Brother Zhang, how about doing me a favor?" "What favor? Where are you?" "I'll look for you. I'll hide behind you and cultivate. How about 500 help points? You can change the method of opening 5 apertures." Once these words were said, Zhang Hao quickly replied, "Okay." Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. The people in the association were still reliable. Zhang Hao was also a divine talisman-type genius. Even Zhou Pingxing did not dare to rashly investigate him to avoid causing misunderstandings. As for Xia Huyo and the others, forget it. Zhou Pingxing could also think of looking for them if he wanted to. Maybe he was watching them. Looking for Zhang Hao. That guy didn't know that he had a relationship with Zhang Hao. 5 or 6 minutes later, Suyu and Zhang Hao met. There wasn't much of a barrier in this mystic realm. The ground was also made of light cloud-like objects. It was impossible to hide their tracks and dig a hole to burrow into. However, there were a few small hills in the mystic realm. Through this, the two of them identified the location and met up. At this moment, the willpower in the mystic realm was getting denser and denser. And it was very pure. Su Yu and Zhang Hao met up and took another look at the induction jade. Fortunately, there was no change in expression. It seemed that no one had noticed them. Brother Zhang. Su Yu cupped his hands and did not waste any time. He quickly threw a jade talisman to him. The method of opening 5 god apertures. This time, Brother Zhang can take the opportunity to try opening them. Thank you. Zhang Hao's face was full of smiles. His luck was not bad. It was just a small matter. He was already extremely satisfied that he was able to exchange for 5 apertures opening plans. Su Yu glanced at the small hill behind him and quickly said, Brother Zhang, later I will hide under your robe to cultivate. Since Brother Zhang has occupied this small hill, I'm afraid you will have to be an evil person for once. Brother Su, you must be joking. Zhang Hao smiled and said, this place is so big. There are only dozens of people and they all have a place to cultivate. If they really want to find trouble with me, I'm not someone to be trifled with. It's just that I've wronged you, Brother Su. Do you really want to hide under your robe? There's nothing I can do. That guy is deliberately targeting me. After he enters, he'll definitely come looking for me. As Su Yu spoke, he had already walked up the small hill with Zhang Hao. The long robe of a civilized master was now effective. Zhang Hao sat down cross-legged and threw his long robe aside, scattering it in all directions. Su Yu directly drilled into it and hid behind him, his head sticking close to his back. Zhang Hao felt a little awkward. Su Yu chuckled softly and said, Brother Zhang, I will draw a large amount of willpower over later. Brother Zhang, don't mind this small matter. The right path is to open more god apertures. Zhang Hao's heart moved slightly. It made sense. Su Yu must have opened quite a number of divine apertures. If he didn't absorb all of them and left some for him, it would help his cultivation instead. Understood, don't worry. Ling Yun wouldn't dare to rashly investigate me. As he finished speaking, Zhang Hao's blood boiled and his willpower erupted. It formed a small pillar of cloud. This was to tell outsiders that this place was occupied and occupied by him. Whoever dared to cause trouble would be his enemy. Su Yu did not waste any time and quickly activated his divine aperture. A large amount of willpower was instantly drawn over. Zhang Hao's heart trembled. Just how many divine apertures had Su Yu activated? Not daring to delay, Zhang Hao immediately started cultivating. He said in a low voice, hurry up and attract more people. Later, if anyone discovers anything abnormal, they will only think that this place has more willpower than other places. Okay. Su Yu did not say much. The 44 god apertures were instantly opened, and a large amount of willpower was attracted to him. The 44 god apertures greedily absorbed everything. Su Yu did not absorb all of it, but he left some for Zhang Hao. Zhang Hao was still opening the first god aperture. This was the one that Su Yu gave him last time, and this time he gave 5 more. If this time was successful, he was confident that all 6 god apertures would be opened. At this time, the willpower around him was getting stronger and stronger. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 858. Chapter 858, Chapter 213 One Shot for One Shot Show Monthly Ticket Subscription, 2. After a few minutes, Su Yu suddenly tapped Zhang Hao with his hand. Zhang Hao's heart trembled slightly, and he quickly shouted, there's someone here. The arcane realm is very big, don't disturb my cultivation. I'm Divine Talisman System Zhang Hao, don't be so insistent on finding trouble and forming a deadly enmity. As soon as he said this, a figure approached from afar. Hu Wenqing stepped on the air and frowned slightly. He felt that the willpower here was strong, so he rushed here to cultivate. He didn't expect it to be taken by someone else. Zhang Hao, a freshman. Hu Wenxing was still thinking, but Zhang Hao's expression didn't change. He shouted, "Assistant Hu, I discovered this first. Is Assistant Hu going to fight with me over the place where willpower is gathered?" Hu Wenxing frowned and didn't say anything more. He turned around and left. Not only was it inappropriate to snatch a place occupied by a student, but Zhang Hao also had a teacher and a grandfather who was at the 9th level of Ling Yun. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. After Hu Wenxing left, Zhang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. He was secretly shocked. How did Su Yu discover this? Was it the divine script or something else? He did not care anymore. He quickly absorbed the willpower. It was too dense. In the blink of an eye, he had already opened his god's aperture for a few days. This time, it was completely opened. Boom! His mind rumbled, just like when Su Yu opened his god's aperture. At this moment, Zhang Hao also felt like his soul had left his body. In the next moment, he returned to normal. He was overjoyed. He could really open it. He really succeeded. Before he successfully opened it, he was still a little worried. He was worried that it might not be true and that he might not be able to open it. However, at this moment, he no longer had any doubts. The two of them quickly absorbed their willpower, and a huge amount of willpower rolled over. At the same time, the others also began to cultivate. Zhou Pingxing also stepped through the air and looked around. Soon, Zhou Pingxing landed. In front of him, Xia Huyo was cultivating. When he saw Zhou Pingxing, he frowned and muttered, "Don't provoke me. I'm from the Xia family. If you delay my cultivation, the Xia family will find trouble with you." Zhou Pingxing did not say anything. He looked around but did not see Su Yu. He frowned slightly, stepped into the air, and left again. Once he left, Xia Huyo muttered a few words. He had nothing to do. However, this fellow, Su Yu, was probably really troublesome. Although the secret realm was not small, it could not be considered too big. If they continued searching like this, Su Yu would be discovered sooner or later. Once he was targeted by Zhou Pingxing, that fellow would not be able to cultivate properly. Zhou Pingxing was already at the 7th level of Lingyun realm. Even if he cultivated, his improvement would be limited. It was obvious that he had given up completely and was going to deal with Su Yu. Soon, Zhou Pingxing landed on another spot. There were a few people here as well. Wuxia was less than 5 meters away from Wanmingzi. She glanced at Zhou Pingxing and harumphed before continuing to cultivate with her eyes closed. Her junior brother had said that there was no need to care about these people. If he dared to cause trouble, she would run over to Wanmingzi's side and cultivate. After all, she had only just opened her divine aperture, so she didn't need much willpower. Even if she was disturbed, the effects wouldn't be too severe. Wanmingzi opened his eyes and looked at Zhou Pingxing. Frowning slightly, he quickly recovered his smile and said calmly, "Zhou Laosher, since you have come to the secret realm, you should cherish this opportunity and absorb more willpower so that you can advance into the mountain and sea realm as soon as possible." Zhou Pingxing's gaze was sharp as he said indifferently, "There's no need for student Wan to worry." With that, he stepped into the air and left. Wu Jia, although he hated her as well, this girl was just a side effect. If it wasn't to target Qin Yong, he wouldn't even bother with her. Su Yu was the one he hated. Moreover, he was too talented. Once Su Yu absorbed a large amount of willpower, it would be troublesome. Zhou Pingxing stepped into the air and looked around. Very soon, he saw a few places where willpower was surging. He didn't bother with them. They might be other places where Ling Yun was cultivating. He went to the other places where willpower was flowing. He found his student Zhai Feng, found the others, and even found Xia Chan. However, he still didn't find Su Yu. "Junior sister Xia, Su Yu entered with you. Did you see where he went?" Zhou Pingxing asked. Xia Chan frowned slightly and opened her eyes. I don't know. Senior brother Zhou, you should cultivate well when you enter. You are trying to stabilize your position by suppressing others. It's very low class. Zhou Pingxing snorted coldly in his heart. Low class? Of course, you Xia family members can say that. But if I don't suppress Su Yu, who can look up to me? Now that I've already embarrassed myself, it's even more embarrassing if I don't care. Out of my 4 disciples, only one came in this time. The others were either seriously injured or unable to enter. How could he be willing to be deprived of his rights? Almost an hour had passed. Zhou Pingxing also cursed in his heart. Where is he? Even though the secret realm wasn't small, it wasn't much. Where did this fellow go? He no longer hesitated. Could that fellow have gone to the vicinity of the soaring clouds to cultivate? Another half an hour had passed. Zhou Pingxing had gone to a few more places. At this moment, he had arrived at a place where his willpower was surging. Just as he approached, he heard someone shout, I discovered the divine talisman system's Zhang Hao's cultivation ground. Don't fight over it. Go and find it yourself. Otherwise, it will be a deadly enmity. From afar, Zhou Pingxing saw Zhang Hao and frowned slightly. His senses were sharp. This guy's luck was really good. In the entire secret realm, even though the concentration of willpower here wasn't the highest, it was still a place near the front. Other places were either soaring in the air or Ling Yun. He had taken up a good place with his temperament. Ignoring Zhang Hao, he used his willpower to scout around. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 859. Chapter 859, Chapter 213 Shooting for a Bang Chiu monthly ticket subscription, 3. Although he couldn't dig a hole here, he suspected that Su Yu had obtained some invisibility divine runes, so wherever he went, he wanted to investigate and see if he could find Su Yu. After investigating, he found nothing. Zhou Pingxing had no choice but to ask, have you seen Su Yu? No. Zhang Hao frowned, he said bluntly, Head Zhou, you're disturbing my cultivation. It's your business to look for Su Yu. My master bought this spot with money. I found a good place. Are you trying to find an excuse to disturb me? You. Zhou Pingxing was a little angry and spouted nonsense. He was not prepared to cultivate at all. Zhang Hao said coldly, then Head Zhou can leave now. Cultivation is a private matter. I don't want to be watched by others. Although our Zhang family has no mountains and seas, not everyone can control it. Humph. Zhou Pingxing snorted, a little dissatisfied. But he did not say anything more and left on air. He was suspicious. Where was Su Yu? Damn it. Why did he seem to have disappeared when he came in? After he left, Su Yu took a look at the induction jade. Luckily, it was indeed not in the vicinity. At least, it was not scouting around anymore. Brother Zhang, the willpower here is getting stronger and stronger. I have to leave soon. At this moment, Su Yu had already opened 3 god apertures in a short period of time. His speed was extremely fast. However, he had gathered too much willpower in this place and could not absorb it. If this continued, Zhou Pingxing would find something abnormal sooner or later. He doesn't dare to probe my. Zhang Hao's lips moved slightly, and Su Yu said in a low voice, it's too dense, so I'll be noticed. I'll cultivate for another half an hour and gather a bit more willpower. Brother Zhang, it's best if you complete the opening of 6 apertures this time. At this moment, Zhang Hao, along with the first one, had also completed the opening of 2 apertures. Hearing this, he didn't say anything else and continued to cultivate silently. As for Su Yu, he also quickly devoured the willpower. With all 47 god apertures opened, the absorption speed was extremely fast. It wasn't the slightest bit slower than an ordinary Ling Yun at the first or second level. Moreover, he was only cultivating his temperament, so it was even easier to open an aperture. At this moment, the fourth god aperture was being opened, and he could open one aperture in half an hour on average. In the distance, Zhou Pingxing could still see a trace of a shadow at this moment, and it was currently probing the next place. Su Yu peeked his eyes out from under his long robe. He stared into the distance and smiled. He did not dare to use his willpower to investigate. It was not that easy to catch him. Later, I will go and mess with you first. The voice transmission talisman flashed. Su Yu asked about Jai Feng's location and was ready to mess with Jai Feng later. After absorbing the willpower around Jai Feng, he would run away. After another half an hour, the 48 apertures were successfully opened. Su Yu did not delay and said quickly, "Brother Zhang, I'll leave first. When that guy comes back later, you can stand up and scold him. I'm afraid that he'll suspect you." "Okay." Zhang Hao did not say much and watched Su Yu leave quickly. At this moment, Su Yu seemed to be hidden in the shadows. He walked close to the ground, and there was a faint illusion appearing beside him. The Gin character covered his acupoints and sealed them. The Blood character created an illusion to simulate the surrounding environment. Unless one's willpower swept through it, it would be difficult to find Su Yu. Su Yu quickly ran in a direction and disappeared in the blink of an eye. After about 10 minutes, Zhou Pingxing flew over again and looked at Zhang Hao in the distance with a frown. Su Yu was very talented, so he definitely had to find a place with strong willpower. The other places were all their people. Zhang Hao in this place was just cultivating his character. Su Yu wouldn't be hiding here, would he? Zhang Hao. Zhang Hao opened his eyes, and his expression was unsightly. He gritted his teeth and said, "Director Zhou, did you do it on purpose? Do you want to deliberately make me suffer from qi deviation? This is only the third time. This is the second time. If I do it again, I will never let Director Zhou off so easily. My master, my grandfather, will never let this matter rest." Zhou Pingxing frowned. After a moment of silence, he said, "It's a misunderstanding. I see that the willpower in this place is too strong. I'm worried that something might happen to you." After saying that, his body trembled, and his willpower burst forth. The willpower in the surroundings was dispersed by him. The space rippled, and Zhang Hao's body trembled slightly. In the next moment, he flew into a rage and said, "Zhou Pingxing, unless you kill me this time, I won't be done with you once we leave this secret realm." He staggered and almost fell down. Zhou Pingxing's eyes flickered, and he smiled. "It's a misunderstanding. I'm sorry. I was really worried that something would happen to you. That would be troublesome." With that, willpower attracted all directions, and a large amount of willpower gathered again. Zhou Pingxing didn't absorb it himself. He smiled and said, "Student Zhang, don't be angry. It was all a misunderstanding." After saying that, he rose into the air and disappeared from the spot again. Zhang Hao snorted coldly and quickly resumed his cross-legged cultivation. In the distance, Zhou Pingxing frowned. He was not here. Where was that fellow hiding? I'm going to find Wuxia. Just as he was thinking about it, an angry roar suddenly came from afar. Zhou Pingxing quickly ran in that direction. A moment later, Zhou Pingxing arrived. He saw that his student, Jai Feng, was bleeding from the corner of his mouth at this moment. He was roaring non-stop. "What happened? Master?" Jai Feng woke up and said angrily, "Master, the willpower in my vicinity suddenly disappeared. I was cultivating. I was careless and suffered some backlash. Suddenly disappeared." Zhou Pingxing frowned and looked around. Indeed, there was a vacuum in the willpower here just now. His disciple had been absorbing and nurturing his willpower. If it was empty all of a sudden, he would definitely be affected. It was not a serious backlash, but it also interfered with his cultivation. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 860. Chapter 860, Chapter 213. One shot for one shot chill monthly ticket subscription, 4. This was similar to his own plan. He was also prepared to interfere with Suyu like this. Who? Zhou Pingxing frowned. Who did it? Was it man-made or an accident? Or did the mountains and seas that maintained the arcane realm in the outside world have problems and a partial vacuum appeared? He looked around and frowned. Continue cultivating. I'll go take a look. Master. Have you found Suyu? Zhou Pingxing ignored him. Found my ass. That fellow had gone to hide somewhere. At the same time. In the outside world, Elder Sun, who was in charge of maintaining the secret realm, suddenly cursed. Which B***starred was randomly absorbing willpower. It should be Gao Zhong or Ling Yun, who was running around randomly and absorbing willpower. Previously, there were a few places that were steadily absorbing a large amount of willpower, so they were also steadily providing a large amount of willpower to these few areas. However, at this moment, the absorption power suddenly became much weaker in one area, but in another area. A huge suction force suddenly appeared. It instantly sucked away all the willpower in the surroundings. Coincidentally, that was the area that he was in charge of maintaining, and it almost caused an imbalance in willpower, causing problems in the secret realm. Elder Sun cursed as he was furious. Who? Zhou Pingxing? Or Xia Yuan or Hu Wenxing? This absorption force was very fast and strong. It could be Ling Yun or Peak of the Soaring Heaven Realm. Could it be Lu Hong? It was infuriating. What were these bastards doing inside? As he was thinking, a huge suction force suddenly came from another area. That area's willpower was instantly absorbed. Elder Sun was furious. His body trembled slightly and he almost made a fool of himself. He said somewhat angrily, "Didn't I tell you not to run around in one place before entering?" F***ck. Maybe it was Zhou Pingxing who did it. To deal with Suyu. Suyu might run around, but he would also suck everywhere. F***ck. This idiot, don't you know that sucking like this will cause them to have difficulty maintaining it? Can't you set up willpower around Suyu and not let him run around? You didn't touch Suyu, yet he insisted on running into the circle you set up. That's Suyu's own problem. You idiot, you're infuriating me to death. On the other side, Zhou Mingren quickly maintained the mystic realm's stability. He was also speechless in his heart. You even managed to create a problem with such a small matter. Idiot. Not far away, Hong Tan chuckled and said, "Why don't I help? I'm strong. I can maintain it for 1 or 2 days." The few of them ignored him. Unless they really couldn't maintain it, they wouldn't let anyone else take over. In the mystical realm, Suyu once again drained the willpower of a single divine literature department student nearby. He was very satisfied. Not bad. If he wanted to gather again, he would need some time. He did not dare to delay and quickly fled. Soon, he saw an acquaintance. Brother Lin. Suyu called out in a low voice. Lin Yao was shocked. He looked around and his vision blurred. Suyu appeared. "I'll hide here for a while." Suyu quickly said, "I'll digest it. You can cultivate in peace." As he said that, Suyu was like a water snake. He directly clung to his back and hid in his long robe. Be more natural. Zhou Pingxing is here. Don't make any movements either. Okay. Lin Yao was terrified. Brother Su was so bold. If he was discovered, it seemed like he was going to be finished. Lin Yao had a helpless expression. Su Yu quickly whispered something to him. Lin Yao's eyes moved slightly, and soon he was excited. A plan to open a divine aperture. Was this real? He did not dare to waste time and hurriedly tried to cultivate. Regardless of whether it was real or fake, he would try it first. As for the fake, he had opened his own, it should not be to such an extent, right? As for Su Yu, he had just absorbed the willpower of the two places, so he did not have time to digest it. At this moment, he no longer absorbed the willpower of the outside world, but focused on cultivating. After digesting for about half an hour, the 49th divine aperture opened. Brother Lin, I've absorbed your willpower here. Later, you just need to shout. After saying that, Su Yu did not say anything more. He quickly absorbed all the willpower here. In the blink of an eye, he fled. Lin Yao waited for him to leave for a while before suddenly roaring. After a while, Zhou Pingsheng rushed over and frowned. Something happened to you too. This was the third place. Who did it? Su Yu. Impossible, how did he do it? If it wasn't Su Yu, then who was it? Lin Yao said gloomily, Director Zhou, I don't know either. I was cultivating well, but the willpower in this place suddenly disappeared. I almost got hurt. Did you see anyone? No. Lin Yao couldn't wait to chat with him for a while more. He said gloomily, Director, what happened? Didn't you say that the willpower here is endless? How did it suddenly disappear? Zhou Pingsheng cursed inwardly. How would I know? Was it Su Yu? If it was him, how did he do it? If it wasn't him, could it be that it was an accident that happened 3 times in a row? F***ck. Zhou Pingsheng cursed inwardly. What the hell is going on? After thinking for a while, he didn't say anything more. His willpower erupted once again, drawing the willpower of the surrounding students over. This was a student from the single divine language department. Although he wasn't his student, he and Lu Hong could be considered to be working well together. Moreover, Lu Hong was currently in charge of everything under the sky. He still had to rely on Lu Hong to fight for something for his student. Without wasting any more words, he quickly left. He didn't run around anymore. He was just waiting for the right opportunity. He went to wait for the next single divine language department student. At the same time, in the outside world, Elder Sun was really angry. Zhou Pingsheng. It was definitely him. Bastard. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 861. Chapter 861, Chapter 213. One shot for one shot, 5. Every time, the willpower was first absorbed, and in the blink of an eye, the willpower in the surroundings was extracted and filled again. Such a large-scale extraction was definitely Zhou Pingsheng's doing. Bastard. Do you know how much we paid to open this mystical realm? You actually caused trouble inside. Zhou Mingren was also speechless. What exactly was Zhou Pingsheng doing? On the other side, even Elder Qi couldn't stand it any longer. He frowned and said, It's not easy to open the secret realm once. Don't waste it. If it doesn't work, we'll go up and hold on. What nonsense. What the hell? They also had people cultivating inside. They paid the price. If they did this now, once the mountain and sea realm couldn't hold on anymore and the secret realm collapsed, the other students would be thrown out. It was normal for them to be severely injured. It would be troublesome if they didn't get any benefits and even injured themselves. Elder Sun and the others didn't say anything. Zhou Mingren took a deep breath and said, There's no need for that for now. We can hold on. If they could hold on now, they could still provide some willpower for the few of them. Once the others came, the secret realm would stabilize. However, the few of them wouldn't be able to gain much from flying. At this moment, someone cursed loudly in the secret realm. F***ck, pay up. Who did this? Xia Huyo was furious. Who tricked me? It was the single divine script department who did this on purpose. Where is my willpower? A moment later, Zhou Pingxing arrived. Xia Huyo said angrily, you did this on purpose, didn't you? It must be you. You've been running around, it must be you. In order to find Suyu, you drained the willpower in our vicinity on purpose, right? Xia Huyo's face was full of anger. I spent money on this. I spent 5,000 merit points to buy the quota from Xia Chongqing Manor Head. If you don't give me an explanation, then wait for me to make you pay. Zhou Pingxing cursed in his heart. Pay your ancestors. What does it have to do with me? Did I do this? Xia Huyo, don't talk nonsense. Xia Huyo didn't care about him, he said angrily, just wait for the money to be paid. Let's do it again. I'll sue you directly for swindling people and selling fake quotas. If you continue to run around and cause trouble, I'll sue you. Don't think that I'm easy to bully just because I'm not a direct descendant of the Xia family. Zhou Pingxing was furious. I already said that it wasn't me. Bastard. However, this fellow's identity was a little complicated. His master had warned him not to provoke the Xia family or anyone else in the academy. Even though he was furious, he did not say anything. He only defended himself, it has nothing to do with me. Perhaps the arcane realm is unstable. After all, it has not been opened for many years. Humph. Xia Huyo continued to cultivate angrily. Suddenly, he said angrily, I don't care if it's you or not. I paid for it. Just now, the willpower here was still very strong. Now it's gone. Quickly gather over, or I'll go out and sue you for cheating the consumers. Zhou Pingxing was angry and snorted. After thinking for a while, he still gathered his willpower. Xia Huyo's side was also in trouble. What was going on? And this kind of trouble was incessant at this moment. It was not just in one place, nor was it only in places with people. Many places with no people were also quickly drained of a large amount of willpower. A vacuum zone instantly appeared. Suyu understood a principle. One couldn't be too obvious when doing bad things. This was what his father had said. One had to learn how to counter-investigate. As for how to understand it, that was Suyu's business. It was too obvious that he was targeting the single divine pros faction. Now, he was targeting more people, regardless of whether they were from the single divine pros faction or not. That was a problem with the single divine pros faction's secret realm. He wasn't the one who did it. Furthermore, under normal circumstances, only Ling Yun would be able to do such a thing. This time, the three of Ling Yun were either from the mystical realm or related to them. As for Zhou Pingxing, he had been running around. If it wasn't him, who else could it be? Even if it wasn't him, it had to be him. One had to know that many of the slots were bought with money. The elders had spent money to buy them. The academy had also subsidized 10,000 merit points. If everyone's cultivation this time wasn't good, or if they had many opinions, wouldn't the academy and those pavilion elders make them lose money? With Su Yu's understanding of those people, spending money was already a heartache. If they got out, they might really make them lose money. Continuing to absorb and digest willpower, the 50-second divine aperture opened. It felt so good. They absorbed without any scruples. There was a vacuum everywhere. The single divine text department was affected, and the other students were also affected. Suyu didn't care about this. You can't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame Zhou Pingxing. If he didn't target me, I would just absorb in one place, and wouldn't disturb others. He just had to look for me everywhere, so I could only do this. I would absorb everything in one place and find a place to hide and cultivate for a while. Gradually, in the outside world, the few mountains and seas couldn't hold on any longer. Elder Sun said angrily, "Bastard." He was scolding people. This was too infuriating. Yu Hong and Elder Li were the same. Their expressions were unfriendly. What the hell? Couldn't they just cultivate in one place? One thing after another, they were almost tormented to death. It's only been 4 hours. Hong Tan smiled. It's only been 4 hours, and these people couldn't hold on much longer. Could it be that Su Yu was playing tricks? But even if Su Yu opened 36 God apertures, it wouldn't be so powerful. Moreover, after opening 36 God apertures, there was no need to open them later, and the willpower absorbed would be limited. Once the apertures were saturated, there would be no way to cultivate anymore. The guerrilla warfare continued. An hour later, Su Yu ran to Zhang Hao's side again. He did not absorb willpower. Instead, he hid behind Zhang Hao and continued to digest. He had just emptied 5 or 6 areas. He had to digest them properly. Zhou Pingsheng had been here a few times, so he was safe for now. Half an hour later, Su Yu opened 2 God apertures again. At this moment, he had opened 54 God apertures. After entering this place, he had opened 10 God apertures in 5 hours. This was the basic formula. In the recuperation stage, opening God apertures was the easiest. When it was time to fly, the difficulty would increase by at least 5 times. In other words, if Su Yu was to fly, he would be lucky to open 2 God apertures in these 5 hours. "Brother Zhang, goodbye." Su Yu laughed and quickly emptied the willpower around him. Zhang Hao did not care. After he left, he said angrily, "Zhou Pingsheng. Did you do it on purpose?" His angry voice echoed. "I will never let you off so easily." In the distance, Zhou Pingsheng did not come over. He frowned. His willpower quickly swept around. Accident? How could that be? What was going on? Su Yu. No, Su Yu did not have such great ability. Was it Hu Wensheng or Xia Yuan? He looked at the 2 places. They were very far away, but he could feel the rich willpower. Zhou Pingsheng gritted his teeth and flew towards them. Keep an eye on these 2 guys. Bastards. It can't be Wensheng, right? Senior brother Zheng was seriously injured, and he had been in a lot of trouble recently. It was impossible for Xie Chan to be taken seriously. In conclusion, Hu Wensheng's promotion to Ling Yun was most likely to be supported by his master because he was also a direct disciple. This time, he had been running around everywhere. Now, more than one person was scolding him. Could this be junior brother Wensheng's goal? Damn it! It couldn't be him, right? Even though he felt that the possibility wasn't high, it didn't mean that it wasn't possible. For the sake of benefits and power, what couldn't happen? In the beginning, if he had suspected it was Su Yu, but now that he had extracted so much willpower, if it was still Su Yu, what nonsense. Su Yu was a person of character. Even if he were to open dozens of divine apertures, he would not be able to absorb so much. It was too much. He was being absorbed everywhere. It was not like there were only 1 or 2 places. As for where Su Yu was hiding, he did not have the mood to care about it now. That be asterisk starred. Perhaps he was hiding in some corner and had not shown himself. Although this mystic realm was not big, it was not small either. There were also some obstacles in the surroundings. Perhaps he had missed Su Yu. At this moment, he only wanted to see if the situation that he had been keeping an eye on Hu Wensheng and Xia Yuan would happen again. If it did, it meant that it wasn't them. If it didn't. Humph. Someone must have set him up. A bunch of scoundrels. Adding insult to injury. Seeing that he had caused trouble, were they deliberately causing trouble for him? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 862. Chapter 862, Chapter 214. No Coincidence, No Book, Double Monthly 1. Outside the mystic realm. Sun Gulao and the others were too lazy to scold. They were powerless. The guys inside had been tossing and turning, making it much more difficult for them to maintain it. At this moment, even Zhou Mingren did not have much energy to speak. He had been maintaining the mystic realm's operation. Sun Gulao and the others could not continue. They relied on him to support them. As for their hearts, they naturally cursed Zhou Pingxing thoroughly. Xia Yuan and Hu Wensheng, in their opinion, would not do such a wicked thing. Inside the arcane realm, Su Yu continued to digest the willpower that he had absorbed from Zhang Hao's side. It was very refreshing. The willpower in this arcane realm was indeed rich, and it was quite pure. Although it was not as pure as the one he had absorbed in the teacher's laboratory the last time, it was much purer compared to the fragment room, and the amount was also much more. Su Yu did not dare to absorb recklessly in the fragment room. If he really absorbed all of it, there would be no place for him to train his willpower in the future. After absorbing and digesting for a while, he opened another aperture. At this moment, 55 god apertures were opened. Su Yu took out a voice transmission talisman and sent a voice transmission to Xia Huyo. Where is Zhou Pingxing now? After hiding in the mystic realm for so long, Zhou Pingxing did not discover him. He relied on these people. Xia Huyo, Lin Yao, Zhang Hao, Wuxia. These people all had voice transmission talismans. By keeping an eye on that guy for Su Yu, he could effectively discover the other party's whereabouts. I don't see anyone. They seem to be heading toward Hu Wensheng and the others. Xia Huyo also had his own channels. He did a wide range of business, including the single god text business. This guy also had spies among the people who entered. Hu Wensheng. Su Yu muttered. Could it be that he still thought that he was hiding at Hu Wensheng's side? He wasn't familiar with Hu Wensheng. Of course, he was very familiar with Lu Hong. At this moment, those who should be hiding had already hidden. If he continued hiding, it would be easy for him to give himself away. Su Yu's eyes flickered. Suddenly, he took out another voice transmission talisman and transmitted his voice. Teacher Lu, how about we chat? After an unknown period of time, Lu Hong replied telepathically, Su Yu. The voice transmission talisman that he had obtained could be used by one person or many people. However, he did not know Su Yu's code name and did not know who Su Yu was, so he had not discovered who Su Yu was. At this moment, the other party was addressing him as Teacher Lu. Lu Hong quickly guessed his identity, and then he felt a little apprehensive. This was just the signal that Su Yu left behind for him, right? He definitely didn't know his codename in the public channel, right? He was Huang 99. Su Yu didn't know, right? Su Yu didn't know about calling him Grandpa last night, right? He wasn't sure. He felt uneasy. He didn't think too much about Su Yu last night. He wouldn't be discovered by Su Yu, right? That would be too embarrassing. He couldn't admit it even if he was beaten to death. It's me, Teacher Lu. How about you help me? What kind of help? I'll go over to your place to cultivate. Teacher Lu, help me cover it up. How about it? How about it? Lu Hong was speechless. What was he thinking? Do you think I'm your home? Teacher Lu, how about becoming a member of the Extermination Society? You haven't come into contact with the Extermination Society's mission system yet, right? The god-slaying points are very precious. The only reason I'm as strong as I am today is because of the Extermination Society. You're a newbie, so you probably haven't come into contact with these yet. However, I can give you a private mission and transfer the God Extermination points to you. After all, I've been in the society for some time, so I still have some savings. Lu Hong couldn't help but reply, didn't you say you created it last time? I'm just saying. Teacher Lu really believes it. I'm just an errand boy. Su Yu quickly sent a voice transmission. Teacher Lu, are you going to accept it? 10 God-slaying points. Perhaps you think that 10 God-slaying points is nothing, but to tell you the truth, 100 God-slaying points can be exchanged for an Earth-grade cultivation technique, and 1,000 points can be exchanged for a Heaven-grade cultivation technique. You won't think that 10 points is too little. Lu Hong did not reply. Su Yu sent another voice transmission. Teacher Lu, after this, I'm afraid you'll have to enter the Lingyun realm. Once you enter Lingyun, Zhou Pingsheng will be your biggest obstacle. I'm targeting Zhou Pingsheng and Zhou Mingren, not Teacher Lu. If I become stronger, it won't do any harm to Teacher, right? Lu Hong continued to remain silent. Su Yu sent another telepathic message. Teacher Lu, have you watched the exchange on the public channel before? There was a newcomer who called him Grandpa, and only then did he get that answer. It's true. I've consulted my Grandmaster and the others about this. Teacher Lu, you can ask the other peak of the mountain and sea realm. When these words came out, Lu Hong felt a little uneasy. This guy couldn't be intentionally reminding him, right? He knew that the newbie was him. He shouldn't have known. Su Yu, what are you trying to say? The God-Devil Divine Prose is indeed not conducive to advancing to the Sun and Moon realm, and it might even cut off the path of the Sun and Moon. Unless Teacher Lu is so powerful that he can ignore all of this, but even my Grandmaster can't do it. He can only rely on his powerful God-Devil Divine Prose combat techniques to offset this kind of influence. Not everyone has the courage to self-destruct a divine rune. Even if he self-destructs, if the divine runes self-destruct too many times, it's possible for his sea of consciousness to collapse. Teacher Lu has agreed to cooperate. He can use these 10 God-destroying points to eliminate a divine rune without any future troubles. Perhaps Teacher feels that I can use them to self-destruct and kill the enemy. I believe that Teacher also has the courage, but what about the main divine rune? Self-destruct the main God text. Aren't you afraid that the backlash will cause your sea of consciousness to collapse? I guarantee that what I said is absolutely true. Teacher, help me once. I'll help Teacher eliminate a God text. The kind that doesn't have any repercussions. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 863. Chapter 863, Chapter 214, No Coincidences, Double Monthly Past 2. Lu Hong was shocked when he heard this. Eliminate the divine runes? There would be no repercussions. Really? This was indeed a very powerful ability. The prerequisite was that the divine runes really had an effect on him. He had yet to verify this point. Just as Su Yu said, Lu Hong had the courage to self-destruct other divine runes. He was only slightly injured and might even be able to get rid of an enemy. Why not? However, if the main divine runes were to self-destruct, the damage to himself would be too great. Sun-Moon Realm. Did he have such ambitions? To geniuses, everyone had such ambitions. Sun-Moon, invincible. Who wouldn't want to be invincible? If they didn't want to, there was no need to accumulate their foundations and strengthen themselves at other stages. Although the Sun-Moon realm was still far away from him, after this, he would be Lingyun. If the divine runes really had an effect on him, the sooner he changed them, the better. Otherwise, when he really reached the mountains and seas, the divine runes would be powerful. If he changed them again, he would have to cultivate them again. Moreover, the consequences would be severe after they were broken. If he could really confirm that the divine runes had an effect on the future, he should make up his mind in advance and change the divine runes as soon as possible. Lu Hong hesitated for a moment before suddenly sending a voice transmission. Wait for me for a few minutes. Lu Hong did not receive any news. Su Yu was not in a hurry. He would wait slowly. If it did not work out, he would hide with the others. In reality, even if he did not go to the others and went around fighting, it would be difficult for Zhou Pingxing to catch him. It was just that this way, without a layer of cover, it would be easy to be discovered. At this moment, Lu Hong flew quickly. He looked around and soon found a person. Without wasting any time, he went straight to the point. How many merit points would it cost to buy a message? What message? Xia Huyo looked at Lu Hong in surprise. Buying a message at this time? Could it be that he was buying Su Yu's location? Lu Hong did not say much and said directly, "Does the God-Devil Divine Prose affect the advancement to the Sun-Moon realm in the future? You are a member of the Xia family, so you should know some things. Don't pass me false information. The things of the Xia family are expensive, but they are usually very accurate." Xia Huyo looked at him sympathetically. What a pitiful fellow. His teacher was also at the peak of the mountain and sea realm, yet he really did not know anything. This matter had spread throughout the mountain and sea realm. As a member of the Xia family, he naturally knew about this matter. 500 merit points. Xia Huyo immediately opened his mouth. He explained, "Whether this news is true or false, there are people spreading it. What you are buying is not the rumors, but the attitude of the Xia family, right? It is worth 500 merit points. Otherwise, even if others say it, you might not believe it." Lu Hong nodded. Indeed, what he wanted was the attitude of the master of the great Xia mansion, the Xia family. As for the others, including Zhou Mingren and the others, he had his doubts. The Xia family usually wouldn't do that. Unless it threatened the Xia family's ruling position. 100 points. Xia Huyo directly closed his eyes. Do you think I haven't seen money before? Lu Hong was helpless. He had actually vaguely guessed this guy's identity. Although he didn't ask in detail, he had roughly guessed it. The other party was indeed not lacking in money. Very soon, he no longer hesitated and nodded, then 500 points. Pay up. Xia Huyo directly took out his merit card and connected it. Lu Hong was speechless. How could a person be like this? Would I renege on my debt? Would I renege on the Xia family's debt? Without wasting any words, he directly transferred the money. Xia Huyo received the merit points, feeling elated and refreshed. The news is true. Of course, there was still no clear answer, but many experts, including Lord Xia, Manor Head Wan, and General Manager Hu, all had some common understanding. In the past 50 years, there might have been some problems with the God-Fiend divine writing. Xia Huyo didn't hesitate and continued, "Of course, there is also a second theory. That is, there is a problem with the human divine writing itself. The human divine writing itself should be stronger. It might have been weakened and cursed." Xia Huyo explained, "This matter is still in the process of being tested. But now, there is a consensus. Cultivating the human race's divine language, although the divine language is weaker, it is easier to enter the sun and moon." Lu Hong frowned slightly and asked, "Then, if you don't cultivate the human race's divine language, you will be completely unable to enter the sun and moon. This matter should have been charged. Forget it, I'll give it to you for free." Xia Huyo smiled, "It's not impossible, including the experts who have sketched out the divine runes of the gods and demons in the past 50 years. Those who should enter can still enter. For example, Pavilion Elder Hong Tan. But the other party relied on divine runes to counteract the repulsive force. Do you have one? Moreover, the repulsive force is very strong. Even if it's a divine runes battle technique, can't you see that Pavilion Elder Hong Tan hasn't entered the sun and moon? Otherwise, he would have entered the sun and moon long ago." Lu Hong understood and nodded. He didn't say anything else and quickly disappeared. A moment later, Su Yu received a reply. You can come to my place. Be careful, don't let others see you. 10 God-destroying points is too little, 30 points, or don't want God-destroying points. I want you to ensure that you can give me 3 chances to eliminate the divine literature. Su Yu laughed. This guy, did he just ask someone to confirm the news? He did not say anything before, but now he agreed. Okay. Su Yu did not care. 3 times, it was a small matter. It was best if you wanted to eliminate it now. Grandmaster's little fur ball just happened to need to eat divine runes. You can get some fresh and hot divine runes. I will ask Grandmaster to personally eliminate the divine runes for you. Grandmaster will probably be happy too. After asking about Lu Hong's location, Su Yu quickly rushed over. A few minutes later, Su Yu arrived. His willpower was very strong. Su Yu laughed. Lu Hong looked around and sighed in relief. He raised his eyebrows and said, with your temperament, it doesn't matter where you are cultivating. It doesn't make much sense for you to come to my place.